episode 85 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy and I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, January 24th, 2020. Thank you so much for joining me today. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. I really appreciate you joining me today, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. This is a podcast all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting to share with you and some hand-dyed yarn as well. You can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts, and you can get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I am currently hosting a knit along over on Instagram, which is called the Make 9 2020 Mal, and that is for you to join in on the Make 9 challenge. If you haven't heard of the Make 9 challenge before, it's simply you make a list of 9 things that you would like to create during the year of 2020, and I am hosting that again over on Instagram, so I just ask that you post a grid of some kind showing the 9 different projects that you would like to make within this year, and put the hashtag Make92020Mal on that post. And then throughout the year, whenever you're working on one of those projects, or if you ever finish one of those projects, please again post a picture of that and tag it with that hashtag so that I can see it. And I will be giving out prizes probably throughout the year. I have decided to go ahead and run this Mal for the entirety of 2020 so that we can take advantage of as much time as we need to get all of our projects done that we would like. And there have already been quite a few different boards of projects that people would like to make that people have posted over on Instagram. So I'm so excited to see so many of you joining in on this make along. And I hope that more of you will join in if you would like. This is not a very strict make along. So you do need to post a board. That's pretty much the only thing that's required. You don't have to post pictures of your projects on, every so often. You just post whenever you want. You don't have to finish everything. You don't have to finish anything. Just as long as you are making progress on some of the projects that you have picked out for yourself for this year, that's all you have to do to participate and be entered to win a prize. So I would just absolutely love to see the projects that you are hoping to make this year, and I hope that we can all encourage one another to keep trying to stay focused on the things that we really want to make and get the things done that we want to do. I mentioned last week that I really just enjoy this type of challenge for myself. I think it's really, I find it inspiring and encouraging and motivating to make a list and be able to check off those things that I get done. So I find that really motivates me, but I know some people don't really, they find that it's more stressful to, lay out plans like that, and to, I guess, it can feel like a stress to be limited to those 9 projects. But we have all year, so it's not meant to be a limiting thing, just more of a fun thing for us to see what one another wants to make, and again, to encourage each other to try to get those finished this year if possible. So again, head on over to Instagram and check out that hashtag if you would like to join in. I would absolutely love to see what you are hoping to make. I have some, today I should mention I am wearing my stripified shawl, which is a beautiful pattern that is designed by Stephen West, and I knit this last year using a ton of scraps in the pink and purple family. So I really love this shawl. It's definitely one of my most worn shawls. It's definitely one of my favorites. So I've really enjoyed getting a lot of use out of this. Purple is my favorite color, so I just love it so much. Okay, a few finished objects to share with you all today. The first one is the first item off of one of my Make 9 lists. I forgot to mention that I ended up making 2 Make 9 lists. One for personal projects that I'm hoping to make for myself, and then another grid showing 9 projects that I want to make as gifts for others. So this is the first one off of my Make 9 gift list. And these are a cute little pair of socks that I knitted for my daughter's 9th birthday, which she had on Tuesday. She turned 9, and I was able to gift her these cute socks. This is the Follow Your Path socks by Litton of Crazy Sock Lady Designs. And this is the second time I've knit this pattern, and I absolutely love it. It's such an enjoyable pattern. I can definitely see myself making another pair of these for myself because I've gifted both of the pairs that I have made so far. So I would really like to have a pair of this pattern for myself. I made my daughter the smallest size in Kay's pattern, which is a 56 stitch count. I used a US 1 2.25 millimeter needle, and I followed her pattern exactly. I did not change anything. So it's got a 2x2 cuff at the top, and this beautiful pattern is so much fun to make. I really, really love it, and I think it worked really well with the self-striping yarn as well. The yarn that I used is Knit Picks Felici in the Cheshire Grin colorway. So that's a fingering weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And then for the heels and toes, I used my own hand-dyed yarn in the Bubbling Brook colorway. So I thought that was a fun contrast, but went, well, not really a contrast, it coordinated really well with the other colors in the stripes. So I thought that was fun. And my daughter did try these on when I gifted them to her. She hasn't, she just wore them that evening when we celebrated her birthday. So they're a little bit, you know, she tried them on. So they, maybe you can tell that they're a little bit, you know, you can kind of tell that she had them on for a little bit, but anyway. They fit her really well, and so I'm super excited about that. So if she does end up wearing these quite often, I will happily knit her more. I have knit her one other pair of socks before that she wears once in a while, but now they're getting too small for her. So that's why I decided to make her another pair, and if she enjoys wearing them, I will be more than happy to make her more. I don't often knit socks for my kids just because they wear through socks so quickly. Well, my boys, I have 4 boys and 1 girl. So my boys just end up wearing through socks so quickly that I just can't bring myself to make them for them. I have made them one pair before, but well, they never really ended up fitting them very well. And I have 2 older boys that wear the same size. So I had knit them one pair of socks that they could both fit into at first, but really the fit was never very good. And anyway, like I said, they just wear through socks so quickly that I'm just not really keen to make them a lot of socks. I did make one pair of socks for my youngest a while back, but he never wears them. So I'm just gonna make, I'll see how my daughter wears these, if she likes wearing them, if she tends to go, wear them a lot. And if she does, I'll make her more. Okay. I also made her another, and that was, like I said, the first one off of my Make 9 gift list. And I was able to make one other thing off of the Make 9 2020 gift list. And I'm so pleased with how this sweet doll turned out. And this, again, is another birthday gift for my daughter. This is the Lily doll, which is a beautiful pattern by Amanda Berry. And I have not made a lot of toys before. And I don't intend to make a lot of toys in the future, but I was happy to make this. It's definitely not perfect, but I'm super happy with how it turned out, and my daughter loves it. I used Knit Picks CotLin for this pattern, which is a DK weight yarn, which is 70% cotton and 30% linen. I used, the 3 colors I used are linen for the body. The dress and shoes are knit using Cerise, and the yellow is called Creme Brûlée. This is knit all in pieces, and all of the pieces are knit flat, which was a bit of a challenge, especially with the cotton yarn. I find that it's really hard to get an even tension with cotton yarn, especially when knitting and, when having to knit and purl, because it was knit flat, all the pieces. So especially in the legs, those were the first pieces that I made, and I was just kind of trying to get my tension right. I ended up having to be really careful to knit or to purl really tightly, and there's quite a few stitches on the legs that are pretty loose, and if you look super closely, you can, well, maybe you can't really see very well, but there you can kind of see better that there's loose stitches and you can see the stuffing through the stitches. So I kind of wish I would have been able to get that gauge a little bit tighter, but it's okay. It's not like it's going to come out, but anyway. So let's see, I knit the legs first and then I knit the body. I'm gonna undress her so that you can kind of see the body. I decided to add some underwear to her. It's supposed to be knit in the same color, but I thought that that would be fun just to put some little underwear on her. These shorts are actually called panties in the pattern, but I think that these are her panties and these are just little extra shorts. So anyway, that is knit from the bottom up as well in one, a flat piece, and then sewn up the back. That's what the legs are too. Then I did the arms and the head, and I added these little safety eyes to the face. She's not supposed to have a nose or a mouth, which I kind of like that. I like that, that way she's not, I don't know, I just think it's fun to kind of imagine what she is feeling and things like that. If she just had a smile on there, I don't know. I just think it's kind of fun to have more of an imagination of what her face looks like. Anyway, she also has these little ears, which are really cute. There is not instructions in the pattern that help you to know where to place everything. That was the only thing that I found a little bit lacking in this pattern. Otherwise, the pattern is really, really clearly laid out and very easy to follow. But when it came to piecing everything together, I wasn't really sure where to put the ears, where to put the arms. I mean, maybe it's kind of hard to tell people where to do that. Maybe it's just supposed to be obvious, but this is the first doll I've ever made. I've knitted a few and crocheted a few toys, but I've never knit a doll before. So I was a little bit unsure as to where to put everything. I actually, when I was putting the ears and the eyes on the face, I actually had it upside down accidentally when I was placing everything. And then when I realized that, I turned it over, and it just so happened that I thought her face looked a lot cuter upside down. So that turned out really well in the end. But yeah, I was just kind of trying to look at a human face to see where are the ears placed on the head. They're right in the center, really. Where are the eyes? They're just above the ears and that thing. So that's kind of how I tried to place them. But again, I had been doing it upside down. So then when I turned her head around, she just looked a lot cuter. So I was happy with how that turned out. Her eyes are really placed at the bottom of her ears. Anyway, it turned out. The hair is, really putting everything together took as much time as actually knitting the pieces, I think. The hair is put on, strand by strand, and it is, you make a double long, you make a thread of yarn that is twice as long as you want it. You fold it in half and string it through and then kind of tie a knot. I don't know if you can kind of see right here on the edges. She only has hair, I put, the original pattern calls for you just to put hair, one row of hair along the hairline and then down the center part, I believe. I ended up putting 2 rows of hair around the crown and then 1 row of hair down the middle because I was running out of yarn. I was planning on filling up her head with yarn, but there is a note in the pattern that says if you fill up her head with yarn, that will be really heavy on the head. And the head is already wobbly. Even before I put hair on it, it wasn't very stable. So I'm kind of trying to hold her up, but if I just let her go, her head can fall back or forward. It's kind of a wobbly head. I tried to secure it as best as I could around the neck, but it's just a little bit of a wobbly head. And that's okay. She's sweet and cute. And when you sit her, she sits really nicely on things. And when you sit her, her head kind of goes like this, and she just kind of looks like, she just looks cute, I think. Anyway, so if I were to take down her pigtails, you would see some bare spot on her head where there is no yarn. I wish that I had, I don't know if it would have been possible. I could have at least around the top crown of her head knitted that using the yellow yarn. And I wish I would have done that. I wish that the instructions would have said to do that as well, just because then if that part would have at least been covered with the right color. I suppose it would have been hard to get the back done unless you did some kind of intarsia work. But anyway, and also it's knit flat again, but anyway. I'm really happy with how the hair turned out, and it's pretty secure up here, so I'm hoping that my daughter will just leave it alone and not take it down, even though it's fun to play with doll's hair. I think she turned out really cute. For the dress, I had a bit of fun with that. That was also supposed to be knit in, it was supposed to be knit flat, but I decided to join that in the round, which was a lot easier. I just did a magic loop to knit that in the round. And the original pattern calls for the body to be knit in one solid color, and then for there to be some stripes up here in the over the chest area. But I did a little bit of my own design work, and I added some color work. I just found this simple flower design online. I just typed in color work flower, basic color work flower, or something like that, and I found this, and you can probably just see what I did. So it's just a V of stitches for the stem, and then the flower is just one stitch, the middle row is 3 stitches, and then the top row is another stitch, and it just makes a real simple little cute flower, I thought. I did have to pull some green yarn in here, and that is actually Knit Picks Dishy, which is a worsted weight yarn, and that's in the Honeydew colorway. But I kind of was concerned that it would make a difference with the gauge, and you can kind of tell that it's a bit thicker yarn, that green, but I didn't think it made too much of a difference, and I thought that was so cute. It is just designed with a rolled hem here, and that looks cute how it rolls up, I think. And then for the waistline, I decided to do a little bit more color work, so I just did some, one by one, switching the colors for 5 rows, I think. Yep, 5 rows of that, and I just used the yellow there. And then for these bloomers or shorts, these were also supposed to be knit flat. I did knit the little legs flat, but then I joined in the round here and started working in the round for the majority of the bloomers. And I had a problem with these fitting her. They were way too big according to the pattern. So I, once I got to the waist, I decreased by 10 stitches, I believe. Did I write that down? Yes, I decreased by 10 stitches for the waistline, and then did a 1 or 2 by 2 ribbing for about 5 rows, so that the pattern was supposed to end here. So I added a decrease row and 5 extra rows of 2 by 2 ribbing. And they're still a bit loose. They, they're not super tight. There's still quite a bit of room here. I could have made them even tighter, but the yarn kind of easily sticks to itself. It has a bit of grab, so they don't fall off too easily. I did add a little heart to a heart button to those. My daughter was I had pulled a bunch of, as I was making this, I was making it in secret, which was a bit difficult because, my kids are always around me, and my daughter is quite inquisitive about what I'm doing, what I'm working on. So it was a difficult challenge to try to keep this hidden from her. Anyway, I had pulled a bunch of buttons from my stash to add to her, and I hadn't used that heart one yet because it was a bit small for what I had intended it to be for, but she saw it on my dresser and said that she really liked that heart button, and so then I decided to add it to those shorts for her because I thought she would enjoy it. And the reason why, I forgot to mention, the reason why I was pulling my buttons out of my stash was because I decided to add a buttonhole to the dress. So the original design calls for you just to add a string and have a tie right here, but I thought it would be easier and cuter to have a little buttonhole. So I just added a buttonhole up near the top of the color work, of the dress. So you knit that, the back pieces, you kind of have to split working in the round and just work the back pieces separately, and because it is worked from the bottom up. And anyway, when I got to that area, I just did a yarn over, knit 2 together, simple spot, a simple buttonhole in that spot. And I love this cute little flower button that I have been saving for a long time. I have no idea where I first got it from, but I just thought it was so perfect, and it fit really well on the back of her dress. And then lastly, the shoes. They are so cute. I love them. I think they're so adorable. These again are knit flat and then sewn together, but it wasn't too hard. Those worked up really quickly, and I added little buttons to the sides of those as well to make them look like they were, you know, fastened on the sides, and I thought that was so cute. So anyway, I just really did enjoy making this. Really, it was fiddly. It, you know, was a bit time consuming, but I just focused on this project solely for, I think, 5 days. Yeah, it took me 5 days to make it, so that wasn't bad. I was in a hurry though to get it done in time for her birthday, so that's why I really was focusing on getting it done, because her birthday was quickly approaching and I was running out of time. So, but I'm so glad I was able to get it done in time for her, and she loves it, and I'm so thrilled. Oh, I used a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle for that project. I did go up to a US 6 4 millimeter for the color work. I always go up 2 needle sizes whenever I work color work. I think I covered everything. Yeah, I think so. So this is number 2 off of my Make 9 gift list. Check. I love doing that. Yes, I got something else done. Okay, the next project I was able to finish was this cute baby cardigan. And I did not knit very much of this, but I did finish this project for my friend Tina. She recently found this work in progress in her mom's attic, I believe, and she says that her grandmother started this project. And it was probably started many, many years ago. The pattern comes from this baby book by Coats and Clarks. It's book number 251. It was published in 1976, so that was before I was even born. So that's pretty cool. I mean, even to think that maybe her grandmother worked on this before I was born. Who knows, you know? That's pretty crazy. It's called the Knit Garter Stitch Sacque. And she used the recommended yarn, which is Coats and Clarks, but well, it used to be called Coats and Clarks Red Heart Baby Wintuk yarn, and it is no longer, you know, it's discontinued. It's very, very old. Here it is. It's in the colorway Pastel Green. I believe it's a fingering weight, but I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't say in the pattern, it doesn't say anywhere I've looked online, it doesn't say for sure what weight of yarn it is. So when I received this work in progress, the lace section had already been done and put on hold for the body here. One sleeve was already done and put on hold, and the second sleeve was halfway done. So I picked up the work and finished the sleeve and then joined all 3 pieces together and worked the yoke. And that was very simple. The original pattern does have a crocheted neckline up here, and then you're supposed to weave a piece of ribbon through that crochet work and tie a bow at the neckline. But I asked Tina, I had thought that buttons would be more practical for a baby. I think it would seem kind of strange to have a tight ribbon around a baby's neck. I just didn't think that sounded very great. And I thought it would be more practical to add some buttons to the top. So I just did, again, some simple buttonholes, knit 2 together, yarn over, and added 3 buttonholes here to the top. And I had these pretty pearl buttons in my stash, so that worked well. The way that the yoke is constructed, it does make the buttons kind of go at an angle, but I think it's fine. When it's on a baby, it won't be, I don't think it will be noticeable. I think it will be really functional. So yeah, I think that will work out well. Tina gave me this project with the needles already in it, left from her grandmother. She was using the recommended needle size for a 6-month size, which is a US 3, 3.25 millimeter needle. But I had to go up to a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle to match her grandmother's gauge. Let's see. It was, yeah, really, really easy for me to figure out where her grandmother had left off. It's a pretty simple pattern to follow, it seems like. And she had kind of some notes written here so I could kind of tell where she had left off. You can kind of see she had little markings, and so this is the last marking that she had, and that's where she had left off, was right there on the sleeves. So that was easy to figure out, but a great challenge. I loved working on this, and I just love the story behind it, that her grandmother started it and I got to finish it. I just think that's such a neat thing. And then this is going to be going to, probably going to be going to Tina's niece, great niece that was recently born. So that granddaughter, or that child, will be the great-great-granddaughter of the woman that started this project. So I think that is so neat. This yarn is 100% acrylic. So I just steam blocked it. After I finished it, the lace did need to have some kind of a blocking done to it, but with acrylic, you know, you can't do much with acrylic as far as blocking it, compared to wool anyway, but it really did make a difference to steam block it. So I just laid it out and kind of pinned out the edges here for the lace work, and then just used my iron, and on a steam setting just went real close to the yarn but not touching it, and you know, gave it some steam. And that really, it's kind of cool to watch because the yarn just kind of, you can just see the yarn moving and opening up as you put the steam on it. That's pretty neat to do. So there's been quite a few projects lately that I have made using acrylic, and I've just been able to steam them. My tree skirt that I made, and then this, and there was another project that I made, it seems like, that I had acrylic and I was needing to block it. Oh, that shawl that I made, a virus shawl that I had made, I think back in December or something like that. Anyway, that has worked really well to just steam block acrylic yarn. Okay, let me check to see if there's anything else I needed to add or mention about that. I don't think so. So I'm excited to give that to Tina so that she can pass that on to her great niece. And the next thing that I was able to finish is the third item from my Make 9 2020 gift list. And that is the basic balaclava. And this is a pattern by MaryAnn Davis. And I made 5 of these for my children. I used some of my hand-dyed yarn that I had kept aside because it didn't turn out right. So this is the 3 lightest shades from my Glory Faded set. But you can probably see, especially on this lightest one, I think, that the red really bled, and that happens if I wash a speckled yarn, especially one that's prone to bleed like red, if I wash it when it's not cool enough. So I have found that from trial and error that if I try to rinse yarn before it has really cooled, when it has speckles, it can tend to bleed. It doesn't mean that that dye will now bleed. It's not like it's still color fast. It's just that when I rinse it, I think that the red dye is more prone to bleed, it seems like. And anyway, I didn't like how these skeins turned out, and so I had just been keeping them for myself. So they worked really well for this. It is a worsted weight yarn. I used my Lenora base, which is 100% superwash merino. And these were made on US 8 5mm needles, which the pattern recommended. It comes with at least 3 sizes, and I made the small adult size for all of my children. I measured all of my children's heads, and they range from 20 to 20.75 inches in circumference. And the small adult size is, I think it said it was 19 inches, but I thought that with the stretch of the yarn that it would still be good, and it's a perfect fit for all 5 of my kids. They're mainly rib, as you can see. There's rib throughout the neck and the back of the head, and so that gives it a great stretch. I even tried it on my own head, and it does fit, though it doesn't go down onto my neck as nicely as it does on my kids, of course. But anyway, these were really fun. The pattern is beautifully written, really a pleasure to make because it's all made in one piece, and it just seems to go so easily. It was a really great knit. Starts from the bottom, And there's an option to do a flared neck, as you can see here. So it's a bit of a longer neck coverage, and I did that. There is another option where you could just leave that off and kind of just start knitting right here, but I wanted to have that extra coverage to cover the kids' necks. And this is perfect for when they're going outside and playing in the snow, sledding, snowboarding, building a snowman. They got a new little gadget that makes snowballs, and so they've been using these already and having a ton of fun wearing them, and they've seemed to work really well. It's nice because they can kind of pull them down under their chin if they're not that cold, but they can also pull them way up over so that only their eyes are showing. I'll insert a picture here of the kids outside yesterday. It was a snowy day, and they all went outside to play, and were all wearing their hats and looked so cute, but quite mysterious, you know, quite ominous. They look like they could be burglars or something. Anyway, but they're keeping the kids warm, so that was my intention. Anyway, okay, you knit the rib. There's a bit, when you start off, you're doing some extra purls in between the ribbing and then once you make the neck smaller, then you're just doing a 2x2 rib. Then there's some short row shaping for the chin area, which just fits so well. I did have some issues with holes in the short row area that I had to go back in at the end to stitch up. I did find that not slipping the first stitch when you start a new short row helped. And then also I started doing a wrap and turn for the last two that I did, and that seemed to help a little bit too. But it still wasn't perfect, and I still had to go back in and tighten up some stitches and close up some holes that were just around in this area on either side. But that's okay. It turned out fine in the end. Anyway, you do the short rows for the chin, and then you put those stitches on hold, and then you cast on some extra stitches for the top of the head portion here, and you just knit the hat in the round until you're done with the crown decreases and everything. And then you pick up around the face area here and do a 2x2 rib for that. So it was really fun to work on these. They worked up pretty quickly. I could make one in about a day and a half, so those worked up well. I have 5 total. Here's the other 2. These were, again, from the same faded colorway, so a Glory faded set, but these, again, were from a different batch that also didn't turn out. And the problem that I had with this one was the base color. It just didn't, it's kind of hard to explain, but the color was just a bit off on the background. It looked a little bit, it had more of a brown color to it for some reason. I don't know if my pot wasn't quite clean enough or what the problem was, but anyway, this was a couple of more skeins that were rejected from being sold in my shop, but they were the same, basically the same colorway. But these 2 are the same. I don't know if they're the 4th or the 5th shade of the Glory faded set. It's a 5 shaded set. But anyway, it's one of the 2 darker colors, but they're the same. They were matching, these 2 skeins. The hats each used 70 grams exactly of the worsted weight yarn. So anyway, it worked out well that I had these extra 5 that I wasn't wanting to sell in my shop anyway. And so obviously the kids don't care. They're just for playing out in the snow, so it's not a big deal, but it's nice that they're 100% merino wool, nice and soft and cozy for the kids. So these have turned out to be a great, very practical project that I was able to make for my kids, and I'm confident that they're going to get a lot of use out of them this winter. So I was so happy to be able to finish those for them. I have a few more finished objects. I was able to make a few more dishcloths. So I'm just trying to use up all of my cotton stash. The first one that I made, I thought it'd be fun to do a 3 colored striped one using up 3 smaller bits of yarn that I had on hand. And this was fun to make. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm happy with the results. I really like how it looks, but it was managing those 3 balls of yarn turned out to be such a pain because they got tangled so much. I was just switching every row. So I started off with one, picked up I started off with black, picked up white, and then red, and then every row I would just switch colors. So they were you know, I was switching colors every row, and that ended up being a tangled mess, and I will not do that again. But I really like how the dishcloth turned out. I think it's super cool looking. Oh, I'm using a free pattern that I found online called Grandmother's Favorite Dishcloth. There is not a designer listed on the website. It's just the pattern, and it says on there that they don't know who the designer is. They just have picked up this pattern over the years. I modify the pattern in that I increase more. The pattern calls for you to only increase to 44 stitches, and I go up to 52 stitches before I start decreasing. This is made with Peaches and Cream cotton, worsted weight yarn, in white, black, and red. I use a US 6 4mm needle for these. And typically I use Chalgu needles for all of my projects, but I do use a wooden needle for these because I do find that the cotton yarn is a little bit easier to manage on wooden needles. And those I think are Knitter's Pride needles that I use. I have 2 in the bright blue colorway, 2 in the fresh lilac, and 1 more in white. I had said last time that I only had 3 balls or skeins of Peaches and Cream cotton yarn left, but I was able to make a few extra ones by using like each skein only makes 1 dishcloth for me, but then I have like a 30-gram ball left, and I had a few extra little balls that I was able to combine to make a few extra ones. And same with this white one. I thought I was all out of white, but I found 2 extra little ones that I was able to make an extra white one with. So now I only have 1 skein left, and I think I'm only going to get 1 more dishcloth out of the Peaches and Cream before I am completely out of Peaches and Cream. And I'm glad of that because it's not my favorite cotton yarn. So I'm glad to have, it's good to use, but I don't love knitting with it as much. It's a bit harder on my hands. So anyway, I'm glad I'm working through all of that. Those are all of my finished objects. That was quite a few, so that is great. I feel very accomplished in getting all of those things done, so that's awesome. But now on to works in progress. The first one is in this bag that I knitted, and last time I recorded I forgot the name of it, and I put it down below, and I still can't remember what the name of it is. Some kind of a felted purse. And I will put that down below again, but it has worked out really well for this project. This project is taking me forever. I really didn't think it was going to take me so long. I haven't worked on it very consistently since I started it, but I've been working on it for over 2 months, I think, which is a bit ridiculous. It is the Gradient Wrap by Mary Lynn Patrick, and I started it on November 21st. So yeah, going on over 2 months working on this project. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. I'm nearing the finish line, kind of. It is from the pattern I have gotten from the Vogue Knitting Magazine, early fall 2019. And it is this cover shawl pattern. And I have modified the pattern in that I'm using bulky weight yarn. I'm using a discontinued yarn from Lion Brand. It is Lion Brand Tweed Stripes in the Wildfire colorway. It's a bulky weight yarn. The pattern calls for worsted weight yarn, but I had this in my deep stash and I wanted to use it up. And it is 100% acrylic. And I am using the recommended needle size, US 8 5mm needles. I alternated the pattern also in that the original pattern calls for 6 repeats of the pattern, and I'm only doing 4 repeats of the pattern. It has grown a ton since last time, so that's good. Here is a progress keeper marking where I was last time I recorded. Here's where I started, so this is what I had already had done, but I've almost doubled the length of it since I last recorded, so that's awesome. I am feeling good about that. It's really an easy, enjoyable pattern. It's mindless, and I really love the texture that it gives. It's almost like a basket weave kind of look to it. And I like how these colors are kind of striping and alternating through these different skeins of yarn. If I recall, I think I had about 5 total skeins, maybe not quite. Can't quite remember if it was like 5 plus a partial one. I think maybe, I can't quite remember. but I'm on my second to last skein. So this one is probably halfway, if not more than halfway done. And then I only have one more, and I'm hoping to just use up all of what I have. From my calculations, that will give me a total length of 73 inches when it's complete. And so I think that'll be a great, nice long wrap that will be easy to wrap around the shoulders, or even kind of, I think it would be really nice to just kind of double it over like this to wrap around like a scarf. I'm making this as a prayer shawl for our church's prayer shawl ministry. So I don't know who this is going to. I'm just making it to have on hand whenever anybody is in need of a prayer shawl. So as I'm making this, I'm just praying for whoever it goes to that they would be comforted by it, and you know, just that this would show them love in a tangible way. So I'm really enjoying working on it, but it is taking a lot longer than I thought it would. But it's okay. Like I said, there's no rush in getting it done. I'm just making it to have on hand, so that's fine. But I'm hoping that I'm trying to withhold from casting on any new projects until this is finished, any big projects. I was trying to hold off on casting on any new projects, but I couldn't help myself and I cast on a new pair of socks. So I will show you those next. These are the first item off of my personal Make 9 list that I have started. And they're in this adorable little tiny, tiny project bag that is from Caroline Watts Embroidery. And in here I have a pair of socks for myself. And on my Make 9 list, I had a pair of socks, the Aria socks by Emily Clausen, but I had noted when I put those on my grid, my Make 9 list, that I really wanted to make her newest pattern that she had shown on a podcast previously, but she hadn't released that pattern yet. They are the Francis socks, and that pattern was released, I think just like last week maybe at the earliest. And I picked up my copy and have started them, and I'm so excited. Ooh, do I have a picture of them? Because I haven't even started the pattern yet. Here's a little picture. Just fold this pattern so that it don't give away the instructions. But here is a picture of the texture of the pattern, which I think is so pretty. And I am using Emily's yarn. So I received this yarn from her in a swap that we did, or Christmas gift swap kind of thing that we did with a few people. Where is the tag? Here it is. And she sent me her dyed yarn. Her yarn company is called the Yarn Brewery. And this is on her classic sock base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And the colorway is called Snowflakes. So here, ooh, that's kind of hard because it's such a light color. There, that's a little better. So it's just a bare base. And then it has beautiful speckles of teal and turquoise colors on it. And it's so pretty. I love it. I have just started these yesterday though, so I haven't gotten very far. I think I only have about one more row left on the ribbing though before I'm ready to start the patterning. So I'm excited for that. I am knitting these 2 at a time, as I usually do when I make socks. That's my favorite way to make socks. I am making the second size. I think there's 4 sizes in her pattern. I'm making the second size, which is a 64 stitch count. The ribbing is gorgeous, 1x1 twisted ribbing, which gives such a beautiful look to the ribbing. I think it's very, very pretty. And this yarn is just knitting up so beautifully. I'm using Chaogu US 1 2.25 millimeter needles. And these are going really well so far. Like I said, I just started them yesterday. I just had to start another project. I needed a little bit of variety in my knitting, so I'm really, really happy to have these started and happy to have started on my Make 9 personal list. And yeah, super excited to have these on the go. The last work in progress that I have to share with you all is in this big felted bag that I got from my husband's aunt. And in here is my Excavation blanket that I have been working on as I have participated in the Make 30 for 30 Make make along that Natalie of Nitty Natty has been hosting over on Instagram. So I have been working on this every day. I have been adding one stripe to this blanket every day, which takes me 30 minutes. So the idea of the Make 30 for 30 make along is that you just choose a project and work on it for 30 minutes a day to see how much progress you can make on it throughout the month. So it started, I think, on January 5th, and it goes until, 30 days. I don't know when it ends, sometime in February, early February. Anyway, here is a progress keeper marking where I was last time I recorded, and I have just added one stripe every day since. So I've been able to make a lot of progress, and there's not much, what do you call it? Width, length? I don't know. There's not much there in inches, but it is getting really long. A viewer, was it Darlie? Might have been Darlie. I'm not sure. I think it was Darlie that mentioned that I should add one of those little connectors between my cable cords to make this, to allow this to be on a longer cord so that I can spread it out. So thank you so much for that, Darlie. I hadn't even thought about that, and it was such a good tip. So that's what I did, so that I could lay it out and see how big it's getting. And it is getting very big. I think I'll stand up so you can see it better. I really want to see it better too, because I just put this on the longer cable this morning. Yeah, it's getting pretty long, isn't it? But I want it bigger, because it's going to be an exact square when it's done, and I want it a little bigger than that. I don't know how much longer I want to make it, but I didn't measure it yet. I think originally I thought 48 inches would be good, but just looking at this, I want it bigger than this. But this is such an easy and really cool pattern. It's free. And you don't have to weave any of these ends in, which is so awesome. So you just start down here, leave a tail, increase, knit across, increase at the other end, knit back again, and leave another tail, cut your yarn. It takes about 4 grams to get across my rows right now, which isn't too terribly much. But there have been some projects that I have knit on that I haven't had enough left over to add to this project. And that is the idea of this blanket. Whenever I finish a fingering weight project, I try to add a stripe to this blanket using that yarn. And I've been able to add most projects yarn to this project, but there have been some that I've completely ran out. Here's and I really do like looking back and seeing all of the projects. So you can see that this shawl is right here. All of the colors that I had left over from this shawl are in there. There's my little purple section, and it's really fun to look through. Here's my bee socks that were by So Sweet Violet, Sweet Bee Socks. Here's my V-back tee that I made in blues and greens. Right now I am working through all of the colors that I added to my Advent socks. Do I have one of them handy? Right here. So this is what I am adding to the blanket right now, is all of the colors that I have left over from these socks, which is a ton. So not all of them are enough of the, and I don't have enough of this scrap left over to add to this blanket, but most of them I do have at least 4 grams to add to this. So that's what I've been working through, and I'm not quite done yet. I still have a few more colors from my Advent socks to add to this blanket. So the way it worked out, I calculated it, and I will finish the stripes from my Advent socks exactly when this Make 30 for 30 challenge is over. So that's cool. Anyway, I'm really loving this project. I've just been doing this the very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning, the first project that I pick up. I wake up pretty early at 5 a.m. so that I have some quiet time before my kids wake up, and I usually listen to the Bible on audio and knit for quite a while. So that's how I spend my mornings usually. And yeah, I've just really been enjoying that. So I get it done first thing in the morning, and it's really nice. And I think I'm pretty confident that I'm going to try to continue this habit of working on one of my scrappy blankets for 30 minutes every day. Even after the Make 30 for 30 thing, although Natalie did say on her last podcast that she's going to extend it through to February, I think, so that's cool. But I have a total of 5 scrappy blankets right now in the works, so I think it would be an awesome idea to work on them for 30 minutes every day and hopefully make progress on them. So those are all of my works in progress right now. I have some new things that I want to share with you. Last time I had these 2 yarns set aside to show you all, and I completely forgot about it. So I did 2 Advent swaps with 2 lovely ladies, and we did 10-gram minis for 24 days, and then on Christmas Day we swapped a 100-gram skein of yarn. And the first one that I received is this gorgeous purples, my favorite colors, and it also had this fun pop of blue in there. This is from the One String. It looks like it's on the Charm base, which is 90% superwash Targhee wool and 10% nylon. I'm super excited about that blend. I've never knit with Targhee wool. I've never knit with much besides merino wool and acrylic and alpaca. So I haven't knit with a ton of other, I guess I've knitted with Peruvian Highland wool with Knit Picks, wool of the Andes, but I haven't knit with any Targhee wool. So I'm super, super excited for that. I want to make a pair of socks using this. It seems like it will be a really hardy, good wearing sock. The colorway is called Frosted Plums, and this is dyed by hand in Litton, Utah. So I'm super excited about that. I think it will look beautiful in some socks. Gorgeous. Look at those colors. Beautiful. And then I also swapped with Tiffany of the Woolen Homestead, and she sent me this gorgeous skein of Hogsmeade Holiday on their sturdy sock. So it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And I have plans to work this up into a shawl. I already have, well, I can kind of show you my tentative plans. I'm not going to be making this for a while, but my plan is to use this to make a, oh, I have to show you a few other skeins first, to make a What the Fade shawl by Andrea Mowry. But anyway, I already have plans for this. The other 2 skeins I'm also planning to use in that project. We'll see if it works. We'll see if I actually do it, but this is my plan right now. So I also ordered some beautiful yarns from Marina of Pineapple Yarn, and these 2 beautiful colorways I just thought were so gorgeous, and I'm so glad I picked these up. These are 2 of her Christmas colorways. This one is called Christmas in the Sand, and she showed this off on one of her podcasts, which I love. She has the Pineapple Yarns podcast. If you're not familiar, I highly recommend that one. It's so fun. And she showed this off on her podcast. She had knit this up into a sock tube, and it looks so cool. They would make beautiful socks, but I think I want to use it in a shawl, like I said. So this is on her Lanny sock, which is 75/25 as well. And this one is so pretty with the light pink and this sandy color in here. And this one is called Land of Sweets. And when I got these and had them laying out on my dresser ready to show you guys, and it was sitting next to this one, and just look how those golden colors coordinate. I just thought that this one really brought out the gold, and this one especially, but even in this one it has kind of that goldish color in it as well. Look at how well those coordinate. So I had these aside, and I was like, I need to make these into a, one project. And so I have a few other skeins that, I have this one from Molly of a Homespun House, which I've been hanging on to for like a year and a half. This is on her Unicorn Magic. It's a Unicorn Magic colorway, but it was just like a one-of-a-kind colorway for her birthday one year. So anyway, I thought that looked good with those. Kind of a fun pop. And then I just have a few little bits from my own stash. This is my Sweetness colorway, Bubbling Brook, and that's Glad. This is Glad. And this is Peace. Anyway, so I have a few of these little bits that I can add to the shawl as well. So that's my plan for right now, is to use these in the What the Fade shawl. But it probably won't be for a while, so. But I'm going to put these all in this project bag, which, by the way, is by Tanny Casey. I love it. And I'm just going to keep these all together so that hopefully someday this year I will make that. It's like another thing that I want to add to my list of things to make. Okay, so I have kind of a big announcement, a really big announcement. I have made the very difficult decision to no longer dye yarn. I have continued to experience a lot of back pain that has not seemed to get better. I actually really hurt my back last weekend and was hardly able to move for a couple of days. And dyeing yarn really aggravates my back a lot. And so that's not the only reason, but that is the primary reason why I have decided to no longer dye yarn. Unfortunately, I have really enjoyed seeing my yarn out there in the world, and I have so appreciated all of the support that so many of you have given me through my hand-dyed yarn. So many of you have been such faithful customers, and I cannot express to you how much that means to me. It really does mean so much to me that you were willing to support my business, and I really appreciate that. But I have decided to no longer dye yarn. I guess it's not to say that I won't ever dye in the future, but for the foreseeable future, I am not going to be dyeing yarn anymore. I do have a few pretty limited number of colorways in my shop right now. Most of them are single skeins. I do have a few that I just want to show you that are a little out of the ordinary, I guess. Two of them are some kind of as-is mistake skeins that I am gonna sell, but they are on clearance for only $18. So this one is my Light of Dawn colorway, and it's on my Josephine base, which is a DK weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And this one is pretty good. It's just that I didn't wind it up very well because I wanted to unwind it so I could show you the mistake. It has a mistake of some green speckles that somehow snuck into this colorway that they don't belong. But you can see there's these like bright, almost like chartreuse colored green speckles right there. So that is why this one is kind of an as-is skein, but it's still pretty. It's still got beautiful colors in it. So that is in my shop right now if any of you are interested in that. And like I said, it's on clearance. And then there's two more skeins that I'm selling individually, but it would be cool if one of you liked these because they are the same dye lot. But these are also on clearance for $18 each. This is my Honest colorway, and it's on my Pitter Patter base, which is fingering weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. These are an as-is just because this purple is, it's kind of got more of a purple undertone, and it's not supposed to have that. I do have a skein of Honest that's correct, but it's out of my reach. But anyway, this is supposed to be more of a lighter undertone base, not a purpley base. So that's why these are kind of as is. But again, they're still very beautiful. So there's two of those that are on clearance in my shop. And then I have one that is just a one of a kind, but I did give it the name of Green Pastures. But it is just a single skein. It's also on my Josephine base, DK weight, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And this one's not on clearance, but it's just a one, it's a new colorway, I guess, but I'm not gonna, but see, look how well it matches the green. I mean, it's just like a really fun green, like a grass colored green. So that is in my shop as well. And then, like I said, I just have a few other hanks of yarn that are mainly, I think they're all single skeins. No, I do have a couple that are like two skeins that were of the same dye lot. So go ahead and check out my Etsy shop if you're interested. I'll just have those in my shop until I sell out. So that will be the last of what I dye for yarn. So I'll probably still be dyeing a few skeins here and there for myself, for my own personal projects, but I won't be selling my yarn anymore for, like I said, for the foreseeable future. So thanks again to everybody that has supported me over the years. I really appreciate it. It's been, I think, almost 3 years since I opened my shop. I think I opened it in the spring of 2017. So I really appreciate all of your support over the last few years. And yeah, I just can't say how much it has meant to me to have your continued support. So thank you so much. So I think that is everything I have to share with you all. We have had a great couple of weeks, pretty low key, really. Yeah, it snowed a lot. The kids have played outside in the snow a lot. It's been fun. I love winter. It's my very favorite. So yeah, I think nothing out of the ordinary though. I'm so excited for our amaryllis to bloom. They're getting so close. It's been fun to watch those grow. I got those for Christmas from my husband's grandmother, and they were just tiny little things, and it's been fun to watch them grow, and we can't wait to see them bloom. It's fun to have those kinds of things in the dead of winter. I can't think of anything else. The kids are being loud playing down the basement, so I'm going to go check on them. I hope you all have a great couple of weeks ahead. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you would like. I would appreciate it so much. I hope you all have a great couple of weeks ahead. Thanks again for joining me. Bye.